All right, folks, I'm back, and it's Mike, and we are going to do the circuit, the next one with two resistors in parallel, but are different size resistors. Okay. Remember, you want to write your matrix down right here. Help keep track of your information and write the information down that you know. Okay, so we have 120 volts AC. It's a parallel circuit. We know that this all stays the same. So it'll automatically bring the 120 volts down. We have 100 ohms resistance on a resistor 1, and we have 5,000 ohms on our second resistor. Okay, so in this case right here, we need to figure out what our resistance is for these two here. So the way this is going to look, the formula is going to look like this. Okay, so 1 over 100 is 0.010, and 1 over 5,000 is 0.0002. And what we're going to end up with is 1 over 0.0102. And when we do the reciprocal or the division of this right here, this is going to end up giving us 98.04. Okay. Now remember, one of our rules for checks and balances is this number right here cannot be bigger than that number right there, or whatever our lowest number is. It happens to be in this one here, it's 100. If we would have had, 101 or 100.1, we didn't do something correct. And I will be honest with you, when I was setting this up before I video it, I put a decimal in the wrong place, and it messed all my numbers up. But because I was doing the checks and balances and checking it just like I tell you, I discovered that I had put a decimal in the wrong place, and because some of my numbers weren't adding up, just like I tell you. So get used to being able to check your work. It won't fail you. Okay, so this check and balance, we're less than 100, yes. So now we have enough information. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I'm figuring out two resistors is I'll put that number between these two so that I know that their combined resistance is 98.04, whatever the case may be. That's a good habit to get into, because when you start getting into combination circuits where you have some that are series, some are parallel, all inside the same circuit, keeping track of that number, because that number is a representative resistor, like it's one giant resistor instead of two separates. It will pay you dividends if you get used to doing that particular technique right there. Okay, so now we're going to do our next piece. We need to find our current, and write our Ohm's law deal. We cover up our I. It's E divided by R, which ends up at 1.224 amps. Okay, so we've got our circuit total. We can check this. We can do, we've got, remember I refer to this as our suspect number right here. We can use our 120 divided by 1.224, and that should come up with our 98. Or we can take our 1.224 and multiply it by 98.4, and we should come up with our 120. Okay. So remember, our next thing, what we do, this has to add up to our number right here. So we want to find the current. We cover this up, 120 volts divided by 100, and that ends up giving us 1.2 amps. Okay. So our next one, again, same thing, cover this up, volts, 120 divided by 5,000. And that ends up giving us 0.024. All right, so if you do the math on this, 0.024 plus 1.2 equals the 1.224 amps. Okay, so now you know that you knew that this was correct because you did your math back and forth. And now that you know these two add up to it, those right there are correct. Okay, doing this piece right here on a calculator is what's expected out there. Knowing how to do it by hand, you go take tests and stuff like that. They're not expecting you to be doing that stuff in your head. Electrical calculations, you can significantly cause some problems for yourself if you're relying on your brain power. Calculator is the way to do that. There's apps on your phone. I don't like using those apps. Those apps make you lazy. You don't really understand. You don't really learn your Ohm's law if you're using those apps. Okay, you don't know how to. You just don't. It doesn't do you justice with using the apps. Okay, easier does not necessarily mean better. Trust me on this. Okay. Any questions? Please make a comment down below. Please share this with somebody again who might be interested in it. There's lots of money and lots of opportunities for electricians that are out here. So stay focused and keep your head on a swivel and be safe out there.